Welcome to this latest edition of the Real Deal Podcast. I'm your host, Real Gerald Quinn, on this 21st, the first day of summer of June 2022. I'm your host, Real Gerald Quinn. As always, I'm joined by one Robert Sapp. Mr. Sapp, how you doing this evening?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. Good to be here with you.
Absolutely. Of course, this is episode 836 of the Real Deal Podcast. The NBA season is over. Of course, you still have the draft and then free agency and all that stuff, but the official season is over. And of course, it ended with another Golden State Warrior championship, the seventh in their illustrious history of that franchise. They now are alone in third place with 7 championships. They passed the Chicago Bulls. They trail, of course, the legendary franchises of the Los Angeles Lakers and Boston Celtics, who are still in a tie at 17. It felt great to say. Still in a tie at 17.
Real quick. I need you to look at this sign that you put up.
I know. Warrior. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
As long as you know, I'm just looking at it. I was like, that's too many letters.
Yeah.
Sir.
Yeah. It was, folks, for the record, it's going to say the Warriors 7th chip. So, I thank Rob Sapp. Rob Sapp got that.
I was like, this is distracting me. That's a lot of things going on in that. Okay. All right. Okay. I'm back. All right. As long as you know.
Yeah, the Warriors get their seventh championship. This was just a very important championship for that franchise, for Steph Curry. We'll get into the Steph Curry part of it. We'll get into the Steph Curry part of it with the deep dive. What are your thoughts? So this series really changed.
I got all the thoughts.
I know you got all the thoughts. So let's go back to
we left off in game 4. Let's go back right before game 3.
Yeah, let's go back
to the Curry game hadn't happened yet, and I was still on my Boston in 6.
Right.
And I was ready to call. This is actually perfect. I was ready to call the Warriors done. Like, I was ready. I was on the cusp. You know what I said in the different tax chains. So this is actually ready. I was real confident last time I was on here.
So game 4, you have game 4, right? Boston is up 2-1. They've just torched the Warriors in game 3 completely, 116 to 100. Game 4, you get the Steph Curry legendary performance, the 43-10 coming off the people were concerned about his foot after game 3.
You can pause right there for me. I want to take it from here. I don't even
go ahead.
Nothing else to say. I mean, I don't have anything else to say, but this is the game actually, like, after all is said and done, when you remember with me, you were kids and what was it for basketball? Hardwood Classics, right?
Right.
And so it's like, this is the one, however kids are viewing things 40, 50, 60 years from now, however that's happening, this is the one that's going to be echoed throughout the history of time. This is what I meant when I said the thing I learned in this series. Every championship is important, by the way. I don't live this multiple championship life where groups of, like, I don't even understand that. Every championship is important.
Every championship is important. But here's what I'll say about that. We'll talk more about that as we compare.
We'll get them.
All championships are not created equal.
I think we wilded out a little bit on that one. All championships are important. They're not supposed to be easy to win, and you're not supposed to expect them.
Right.
That's 1, 2, 3. But the 40th. That game, and going through the echoes of time. This is what I meant when I was texting and saying that what I learned about this series is that Steph is an immortal. I haven't felt that since Jordan. Flat out. This is me, 30 years of basketball. I was like, and of course, like I'm a Celtic sympathizer since the Sonics went bye-bye.
Right.
So I remember the LeBron James 40-point game very well.
Right.
I remember that feeling very well.
Right.
And that wasn't this. That wasn't this. And I equate it to like Barkley always does this about Jordan in the stories. And as I've listened to more and more athletes talk, as we all have, like this is consistent amongst them all, no matter where they fall on the depth chart in any sport, they do not say someone is better than them. That is just not a thing.
Right.
And so, you know, so I say this to say set up Barkley, of course, thinks he's greater than everybody except for Michael Jordan. And because he brings up the Phoenix, Chicago finals, him scoring how much he did, being dominant, and Jordan being that much more dominant than him. When I was talking to my brother and reviewing this game, that's why when I was saying to y'all, if the Celtics felt like how I feel, the series is over with. And it was over with. They did feel that guy.
Yeah, no. To your point,
that 40-point, that fourth quarter, I was fine up until fourth quarter of this series. That game unnerved me so. You know me, Real.
Yeah.
I don't change my pick.
No.
It unnerved me so that I went from Celtics in 6 to Warriors in 6.
Yeah.
I think I might have said 7 just because that's the track we're on. But it made me flip that much because, and this is how I said it to my brother, I was like, the Celtics were playing max. They've been at 100%, meaning hard play, skill, max. They've been maximizing everything this entire playoffs, which is what's been impressive. So they assumed, as did I, Golden State was playing at 100%. And maybe most of them were, but not Steph. Steph was playing at 80%. Then he kicked it up to 100%. And all of us who were at 100%, fandom-wise or player-wise, went, oh, shit. He's got another level. Uh-oh. Can't stop that. And that's essentially what it was. And that's why I said he reached an immortal level. Once you start that, that's when you for real start talking about 10. Like for real. Like there are very few players in the history of the NBA that can instill what are they? Franchise level fear. They're just like individual matchups, yeah. But franchise level fear, that's only a few. That's only a few. And that's what Curry did. You called him out in the best way possible at the beginning of this. At the very beginning of this, I did. I disagreed with you. In my head, I was like, oh, Curry doesn't really need anything. He's proven everything. And I might even said it. And you were like, this is what I need to see. I didn't know I needed to see it until I saw it.
Yeah.
Then I was like, oh, Real was right. Not only that, this puts Curry, it put him in whatever level he was on whatever list you had, he then went up. Wherever you had him, he then went up. And so that's why this game is so important. And then the next game was a team game. Game 6 was a team win.
You mean game 5? You mean game 5?
I mean game 5.
Yeah,
that was to put him away. But that was like Steph gave us all the confidence. That's what I mean. It was just franchise.
What game 5 did? What game 5 did?
That's why game 4 is so. That's
game 5 told us. Game 5 told us that Boston was broke because Curry had a bad game.
Curry took that from Boston and then gave it to the rest of his team.
Yes. Yeah.
That's what game 5 did. It was like, oh, it is for real a wrap. Because the rest of the team, as much as disheartened, this is why. This is only certain levels of players can do this. And we way past superstar at this point.
Yeah, no.
Only
You said
certain
immortal.
level.
Immortal, no,
Where
immortal.
yeah, we way past it.
Yeah, no. Yeah, immortal is the
This,
perfect word.
like where it's just like literally, like I'll take your heart, but at the same time, take your confidence, and in the same time, give my team all the confidence in the world. Franchise level confidence, not just one player, not just a couple players, the entire team. He took the entire team's heart on Boston's side and gave it to his team. Very impressive. Very, very impressive.
It was kind of similar. It was kind of similar to what we saw last year with what Giannis did to Phoenix after being down 2-0 in that series. They go down 2-0 in the series, and then they don't lose another game as Giannis keeps going up another level, and another level. And Phoenix just had no answer for it. Like they had nothing. There was like whoa. So he's gonna he's gonna score 40 again, and he's gonna dominate. He's gonna have a game-winning block. Like what are we don't have anything. Like we can't match up with this. And once that, and especially a team that doesn't have finals experience, and that's why what I learned about this series is that I've seen Shaquille O'Neal physically wear teams down in series. I've seen him do it to San Antonio. I've seen him do it in the finals. Golden State mentally wore down the Boston Celtics.
Well, also, and I use the Shaquille version against my brother. With my brother, Steph's as dominant as Shaquille, just in a different way.
Yeah.
I watched different style. I watched Tim Legler after. I don't know if you saw this one, where he kind of shouted out a couple of stuff plays, and one in particular really, really caught my eye. And I mean, it's been diagrammed in a bunch of different ways over a period of time, but this is what I mean by the reverse dominance, but just as dominant as Shaq was. They showed a play where there's a bunch of action going on underneath the basket, but at half court, Marcus Smart, he freeze framed it here. Marcus Smart was face guarding Steph Curry at half court and could have cared less what was going on behind him. So he starts face guarding. You got the defensive player of the year, start face guarding Steph Curry at half court with all the action happening under the back. Steph doesn't even have the ball.
Right.
All the action is going on, and Smart could care less. And then he starts to play. He unpauses it, and Smart is face guarding Steph without the ball so long. He's like, something's got to be going on at the basket. Let me just, and the instant he starts to peak, they run the action for Steph. And Steph hits the three.
Yep.
That's what dominant. Just dominant.
Yeah.
And that's also where a lot of teams get it wrong. Well, every other team honestly gets it wrong, is he can only be that dominant because he can do it. There are other players that can do anything like that from the outside. Maybe Luka right now, but you can't run that same type of act. Anyways, point being, that's what I mean. It's a singular dominance that only one player possesses, and it just happens to be 50 feet away from the basket instead of right under the basket as Shaq was, or 15 feet away from the basket, 10 feet away from the basket, whatever it was, as Shaq was. Yeah, Curry's an immortal. He is.
So what I saw in the course of this series, especially the last three games, so Boston goes under 100 points the last three games. I really, when I look at the overall series, didn't have a problem with how they played defense. I thought they defended. They defended well. What let them down is their offense. Their offense, and you want to tie it into Golden State's defense as well. You can get both. In terms of Andrew Wiggins, especially with Andrew Wiggins, we'll talk about him.
That's what I learned.
But
I didn't know.
They showed to me the reason why I didn't think that they would win the series.
Y'all can ratchet up defensively too.
The finals experience, like there's a level of like
y'all are really good.
The finals, the finals is you had the two best teams, the best coaching, the best of everything. the finals is a marathon. The finals, like it really is. So, like, okay, with 2-2, okay, it's 2-1, 2-2, 3-2. Like you have to play this thing out, and it's a mental grind in the
Championship
finals.
level stamina.
It's a championship level stamina. But Golden State been there, done that. Coaching, they have. I mean, Golden State has 2 head coaches. Well, Atkinson said, you know what? Forget. I'm thinking I'm gonna stay here. Forget about that. Charlotte Kenny Atkinson just he quit.
He saw what happened to Luke. Where's Luke? Did I heard from Luke?
Atkinson was like, it's not so bad. It's not so bad winning championships as an assistant. I'll wait for another job to come out. But in essence, he and Mike Brown are 2 head coaches.
I told you, son. I told you. I told you, sir.
He and Mike Brown you have 2 assistant coaches who are in essence head coaches. So you have that going for you. You have Andre Iguodala, who's like another assistant coach. Like the amount of experience that Golden State had versus Boston, it wasn't comparable. It wasn't comparable because I still want
championship level experience.
Championship level experience. Because I still think Boston had the more talented, deeper team. Like I still think Boston had better players, but
I agree with that.
But when you compare that level of experience, and then when you have their immortal player versus your so-called superstar who's not a superstar yet, and he goes into the tank. That's how you go from that's how you lose in 6 games after being up by 2 games to 1. What happened to Jason Tatum? What do you think? Jason Tatum shoots 30. I can make it a case that Jason Tatum probably was like the fourth best player in this series behind Steph, Wiggins, and Jaylen Brown. When you watch him over the course of the series, he shoots like 36% for the series. Andrew Wiggins holds him to like 37.5% shooting. He didn't look like you forgot that he was on the floor in Game 6. Like he was absolutely like he looked like he was just, I'm not gonna say checked out, but like that he was done in Game 6. But he mentally was cooked in that game. Seemingly wanted no part of that game. What in your mind? What happened to the guy that dominated Kevin Durant that went toe to toe with him?
What
happened to him?
It's all the things we saying. This was real easy. Everything doesn't have to be conspiracy. Everything doesn't have to be.
No, I'm not using conspiracy. I'm just asking what happened.
No. I'm not talking about you. Everything doesn't have to be deep, and we don't even need like 50 million segments. I'm thinking ESPN to that, and I'm thinking on this one because both of these teams did it the right way. This is kind of how we used to talk about sports. What happened was the moment was too big for Tatum.
Yep.
And the other team's best player was destroying. So all the things done, championship stamina, he got this actually is part of the process.
Yep.
If you're the Celtics, now you just got to take advantage of it. You're a young team in the finals. You're supposed to lose.
Yeah.
People forget that. You're supposed to lose.
Yeah.
And so anyway, so yeah, he just got dominated in every way, stretch, fashion imaginable. But I don't even feel bad because that's why me and you had the whole segment where we were like, pump the brakes on superstardom. We got to pump the brakes on. You have to do it first, one, and then you got to do it again and again. And so on a very micro level, just talking about this series, what we needed to see from Tatum was that exact same intensity and level of play in the first round as in the final round. What was obvious is he did not understand that. He did not gear him, whatever that means for him personally as a player. Because I'm sure everybody was telling him all the things. I'm sure his coaches were telling him all the things. But until you for real experience it. And then again, this is why I always get mad at what happened with the Bulls in their breakup, because what Tatum got to see, a front row seat that will give him nightmares for the rest of his life. He got to see what it looks like. A player that can do that can do it first round, second round, third round, and in the most important round. Actually, that's when you got to be your best, right? And that's the hardest thing to learn as a young player, and particularly when you have the ball in when the hopes and dreams of the franchise rely on your consistent play, is that you gotta somehow find a way to be better later on in the playoffs than earlier on. That's tough to do.
This happened. I remember the '95 finals, Orlando, Houston. So kind of similar situations. Houston was coming off a championship, had the experience.
LeBron had to learn it.
Had the best.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, everybody had it. Yeah, LeBron had to learn it. Olajuwon took Shaq to the, took him to the cleaners. Period. They swept him.
To school. I remember that one very well. Absolutely.
Shaquille O'Neal at the time was like 24, 25.
Emil admits very few things. He admits that.
Oh yeah, no, he had no choice but to admit that. Yeah,
I know.
Yeah,
he still finds ways, but you're right.
No, he
no choice on this.
He owns that. He says, he says, Olajuwon, I got destroyed. And he said that from then on, I promised that I would never lose in the finals again. Now he ended up winning 3 straight before what happened with Detroit, but he did after that. He was dominant in the finals for the majority of his career. So we'll see if Tatum learns from this. If he should learn from this. It'll be interesting with Boston because.
But to your short answer, what happened? He got dominated both physically and mentally.
Yes, absolutely.
That's what happened.
No two ways about it. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Boston. They should learn from this. I've seen
no choice.
They had no choice. Yeah, but I've seen this go left as far as we think of these, Oklahoma City and Orlando for that matter, where you think a young team loses early in the finals and then doesn't recover.
Well, we have more data. Think about the makeup of those teams. Think about the makeup of those players. Now, hopefully, Tatum and Brown are not made up mentally like those other players are. But think of mentally some of those. Think of what we now know of. Who's the first one you said?
Orlando in '95 and Oklahoma City in 2012.
Well, think of what we know of Penny, Nick, right, yeah. And then think of what we know of. I keep forgetting that one. Oh, Westbrook,
Harden, that Durant, yeah.
All of them. But we know about all of them.
Yeah.
That's right. That's why I keep forgetting, because it's such a layup.
So the deep dive is the importance of this title, Steph Curry. I think this title for Steph Curry and for that franchise is the most, it carries the most weight to me, because the first title they won 2015. Again, I'm not one who cares about injuries from another team.
That one was a legit.
But
that's legit.
2015, they were the best team, period. They were the best team. They were better than Cleveland. Injuries happened, whatever. Steph Curry was the best player. Steph Curry was the best player on that team. He should have won Finals MVP. But you had people questioning, if Kyrie and Kevin Love had been healthy, they wouldn't have won. Whatever. They win. They get Kevin Durant. They lose in 2016, blow a 3-1 lead, and it's like, oh, you see what happens if with a healthy Cleveland and so on and so on. They blew a 3-1 lead and lose 73 games. All that goes down the toilet. So then they get the the nuclear weapon in Kevin Durant, and then it becomes not fair. So they win 17-18 with two of the great teams of all time, especially that 2017 team. And it's like, yeah, y'all won 3 and 4 years, but these 2 times with Kevin Durant, it wasn't fair.
I can actually make that a win for Steph Curry.
Oh,
his legacy, by the way.
Oh no, it's a major one. So now
this is why this championship is so important. Keep going.
Yeah, now, 2019, Durant gets hurt. Klay Thompson gets hurt. We know what happened with that, and it sets them back 2 years with the injuries and bad luck and what have you. to their credit, they revamped their roster. They draft well. They developed well. You get a Jordan Poole. You get the Wiggins trade. You get all these things that falls into place with them. As far as Steph Curry comes back better than ever. Klay Thompson recovers. So now we get here, and for the first time in all their finals appearances, they're not the better team. They're not conceded. They were favored. They were slightly favored, but it was universally recognized.
This was an even match.
It was universally recognized that this was basically a 50-50 pick-up match, and that Boston was playing the better basketball and had the better team all around. So they win this one. They're down. They lose the game one. They get kicked in the mouth in the fourth quarter. Bounce back in game two. They get mollywopped in game three. Bounce back. We see what happens in game four. Game five, they blow a lead. They blow a lead and then dominate in the fourth quarter, despite Curry's one mediocre game in this series with the 16 on 7 of 22. And then we see what happens in game six with basically a 40-minute coordination where you never got the chance. You never thought that Boston was going to win in that game six. So this one, to me, carries the most weight because you beat a team that probably that has more talent than you. This is not a Golden State. This is not a super team by any stretch of imagination. This team had flaws in terms of the lack of sides. We know this team was a turnover heavy team. And the bottom line is, as in comparisons to, and this is where Steph, is winning from that standpoint. Draymond Green and Klay Thompson are not what they once were. Period. Let's get that out the way. There's not a big three. You have Steph Curry and and some championship pedigree and experience with those two guys. Now, Draymond Green picked up his play. By the way, Klay Thompson played great defense in this series. Even as inconsistent as his shot was, and he made some big shots too. He played some excellent defense in this series, especially the last 2-3 games. But those guys, the Draymond and Klay Thompson are not near what they want, what they once were. It's not even close. So this was Steph Curry all the way. This was I'm not going to say Steph Curry. I'm not going to say it to a point to where I'm compared to like what Dirk did in 2011, because I think this roster is better than that 2011 Mavericks. But it's not that far off. Like, I guess you'd say Kobe did in 2010 Gasol was very good, and they had some nice pieces. That wasn't no star-studded team. But this was I'm not going to say it's close to being a one-man show for a championship team as you're going to see from that standpoint of him just elevating the entire franchise. And this chip means more. Let's be honest. This chip is the most important of Steph Curry's career up to this point. And I don't think I didn't care about the Finals MVP. That was whatever. I'm just talking about he was definitively the best player in not only in his team, but in this series, and it wasn't even close. And that was what we hadn't saw throughout the course of his career in the finals. Even in 2015 when they won, we knew LeBron was the best player in that series. Period. This series, this was Steph Curry all the way.
Yeah, I mean, and like that is what, because you talk about it in such a singular way on the series, and so like that's what I was so focused on. But here's what I didn't realize what this win was going to do from my own personal perspective of Steph Curry. My brother asked a simple question. He was like, "Who you got, LeBron or Steph?" And I was like,
save it. Hold up.
Yeah, I know.
Say that.
Wait. It's going to lead into this. Okay. I'm not moving on. Right. But I was like, first 1 to 5 wins the era. And so here's what I meant by that. Here's what I meant by that statement. Not even meaning by that statement. This is what I mean by perspective of Steph's career, is because now when I look at Steph has two, in my mind, 2 legit championships. The first one and this.
Yes.
And so
And so that's multiple. Once you get to multiple, now I can start talking and thinking a lot of different things.
Right.
And so then I started thinking about the arguments for Steph being great, like all time great. Revolutionized the game, check. Right? Like just undisputedly check. Best player on his team, MVP of all the things started to be checked off with this one win. And then that's when I started thinking like, oh, okay. Then once you have like legit multiples, however that happens, and it used to happen in the way we're seeing it happen now, where you got to kind of like go and like really like get into like all the nitty gritty of all the championships. But then the others didn't add on, which is always my argument against why Kobe and Shaq shouldn't have broke up, because after a certain amount of time, the amount of championships just become overwhelming, and the context doesn't matter.
Right.
Anyways, with that being said, it's like he has two legit, but the other two don't go away. They don't just disappear.
No,
now they become magnified. Then you start thinking about, magnified on top of, and then you start thinking about, well, then how those championships came about. And before this one, it was very Kevin Durant centric. Now I'm just like, Kevin Durant needed Steph to win his two. So on one end in 2000, and on one end in this very short time frame, you beat the greatest player in the world, and in a very short time frame, you make the other greatest player of the world submit to your will and come to you. No one has that on their resume, bro. No one has that on their resume.
No.
And so that's why I start thinking like.
Well, hold on. You left one out. You left. This is what you left out too. You make the second considered. You make the guy in terms of Kevin Durant, who's considered to be the second greatest player of the era. You make him come to you after you beat him.
We're talking about the top thing. That's why I meant submit. That's what I meant. Submit to your will.
Yep.
That's what I meant.
Okay.
He made him submit. He doesn't come to you bended knee if you don't beat him.
Right.
Just that simple.
Yep.
So yeah, made him submit to his will. So that when we start talking about, the one knock people have on Jordan really is that there was no equal to him during his time.
Right.
And we just talked about two equals right there. There are absolute equals, better, best at different points in time. And Steph beat them both.
Yep.
Not only to a point, he beat one into submission. And that doesn't usually happen. So anyways, that's when I started thinking about like singularly the series, cool. But when I started thinking about what this win in this series does for my overall thought process on Steph, I go, wow, Real was really right. Like, boy, was this series, this championship important to the overall recognition of Steph. And I didn't even realize that I needed to see this like that. I didn't even realize it until it happened. So yeah, this was a big one. Thanks.
Yeah, I thought that before this series started, I thought that this was and I really meant this, that this could be a defining NBA history moment type series, depending on what happened. Like, I easily, because if Boston wins this series, as much as I would have hated to admit it, could that have been in the beginning of Boston having 3 and 4 years or 4 and 5 years? Absolutely. The confidence that they would have had beating Golden State.
Young team, the confidence early.
Yeah.
Which makes the future for Golden State very bright. A lot of things changed on this series. You're not lying.
A lot.
It made their future very bright.
A lot. And how about this, Rob?
Like, ain't nobody tell him nothing. And
how about this, Rob? How about this, Rob? You beat the Boston Celtics in the Garden. That's big. You beat the historic Celtics in the Garden.
Yeah.
in the TD Garden and danced.
And
We danced on
honestly,
that floor.
there was no doubt about it. I was listening to everybody. Everybody was set. I was telling my brother, everybody was setting up this has been a great season in Game 5. With Game 6 being played at home, the Celtics media was setting up it's been a great season.
Coronation. It was a coronation.
I was like, we all know this is done.
Yeah, Game 6.
We all know it.
It was a 48-minute coronation. 48 minutes.
Yep. That's how you know Steph is that dude. He just left no doubt. You knew it. You knew he was closing them out.
We're going to get back to the NBA. We're going to shift gears a bit to the NFL. We've been doing a series of Super Bowl teams, Super Bowl contenders in their schedules. Done Kansas City, Green Bay. We did the Rams. I think last week we did the Rams. The team that the Rams defeated on their way to the Super Bowl, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Tom Brady. Again, one of the favorites definitely their divisional favorite, one of the favorites to come out the NFC.
I feel much better about this because of today's news, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
I feel much better about it.
Yeah.
And it's not about play on the field. It's not as much about playing on the field as more of what this says about belief around Brady's intentions.
Yeah. If you don't know what he's talking about, Rob Sapp is talking about. Rob Gronkowski announced his retirement today. For now, you never know what that dude. I really never.
It's not even about that dude. He came back because Brady said, "I'm going to get you a championship."
Yeah.
He doesn't come back because he wasn't guaranteed that same thing.
No. So, looking at the overview of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers schedule, they are in. So first of all, we know that the division is a bad division. Number one, they're in a division that, in essence, the gap between their quarterback versus the rest of the division, maybe not one of the widest gaps in the entire league. Maybe I would say the only debatable one is Green Bay, with the gap between the next best quarterback and probably Green Bay is probably wider. But Tampa Bay is close. Green Bay is the widest, yes. Green Bay is the widest as far as the quarterback, the second best quarterback compared to Aaron Rodgers. But this one is very close with Tom Brady and the rest of these other quarterbacks in this division. So they were rated the seventh toughest schedule in the league. They have 8 games against 2021 playoff teams. Their toughest non-divisional road games at Dallas, at Arizona. They have a bunch of tough non-divisional home games: Green Bay, Kansas City, Baltimore, the Rams, and Cincinnati. That is a brutal non-divisional, but they're at home, so that kind of softens it a bit. So we go through. We go to week one. Week one openings. They are going to be opening the season September 11th, similar to last year. This time playing the same opponent in a different stadium. They played Dallas at home last year. They hosted Dallas. This year, Dallas will host them on a Sunday night. That will be the opening weekend of the NFL season. At Dallas, Sunday Night Football, I had that as a win.
I think I originally had it as a win, but I'm telling you, this news has shifted my opinions on Tampa Bay Buccaneers pretty significantly. But I'll keep that as a win. Why not?
Week 2 at New Orleans.
I honestly hope both of those teams play and then they both explode. That's my great wish on that game. I very much don't care who wins at all.
Week 2, September 18th at New Orleans. Remember, New Orleans beat them twice last year. But I don't see that this year. I have that as a win in week 2 at New Orleans. So I had them starting off in great shape, 2-0 on the road.
I'm speaking like I feel. I'm taking that Dallas win away, by the
way. Okay. So you have 1-1.
That's an L. I got 1-1.
Week 3, hosting the Green Bay Packers. I have that as a loss.
Same.
Week 4, hosting the Kansas City Chiefs. I had that as a loss.
Same.
So you had them at 1-3. I had them as 2-2 starting out the first 4 weeks.
Yep.
Week 5, they they host the Atlanta Falcons. I had that as a win.
Same.
Week 6 at Pittsburgh, I had that as a win.
Same.
Week 7, they travel to Carolina. I had that as a win.
Yeah, this one was not worried about that start at all. Same.
Now, short week, Thursday night football. So that'll be a short week. But they are hosting the Baltimore Ravens. I'm very high on Baltimore. I had that as a loss.
Same.
Week 9, they host the Rams. They'll get a lot of time off after the Thursday night game. I had that as a win.
I'm gonna give them the L. I think I had it as a win, but I'm gonna give them the L now. That's my Paul.
Week 10, they travel. This would be the game. They'll travel to Germany to play Seattle. I had that as a win.
Yeah.
So then they come up on a bye. So through 10 weeks, I had them at how many? At what? 1, 2, 3. So I have them at 7-3 through 10 weeks.
And I think I have 2 more losses.
Okay, so you had them 500. You have them 5-5.
I'm at 500.
500. So they get a bye after the game in Germany. And then week 12, they host the Cleveland. No, they travel to Cleveland. I had that as a win.
Same.
Week 13, they travel. They host the New Orleans Saints. I had that as a loss.
I have it as a win. I haven't sweeping the Saints this year.
Okay. Week 14, they travel to San Francisco. I had that as a win.
Same.
Week 15, they host the Cincinnati Bengals. I had that as a loss.
I had this as a win. I think I'm going to keep it as a win.
Week 16, they traveled to Arizona. I had on Christmas Day. I had that as a win.
Same.
Week 17, they host the Carolina Panthers. I'm sweeping them. I had that as a win.
Same.
And I had them, of course, sweeping the Atlanta Falcons in week 18. So I have them at 12-5, winning a division, and of course making the playoffs.
Yep. And it looks like I have them at 10-7.
Wow.
I don't know enough about the rest of their division.
They'll win that division.
But
nobody in the division is beating.
I'm assuming that's a win.
That's going to win. They're going to win it.
It's just more how I think about them overarching in the NFC.
So 12-5 with this schedule is I still think they're a contender. You clearly don't think that they are a contender. You have them as a winning, basically making the playoffs by default based on how bad the division is. Why are you not as high on them?
I think the thing that makes Tom Brady a superhero, and let's be very clear, that's the only thing that scares me about Tampa Bay.
Right.
So let's be big. This is all about Tom Brady. Yes. So anybody or thinking about any other players and how blah, 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 don't care. Talk about Tom Brady and the impact of Super Bowl. And so that's what makes him a superhero. I wonder, with a career clearly defined now, what his next step is clearly defined. I wonder how many people are good, how he is going to be able to instill that belief about it. And so this could just be that chink in the armor. It could just be that chink in the armor that separates why they win some of these close ones and then why they don't. Also, Tampa Bay has never been the greatest regular season team,
right,
in the world. So it's not a stretch that this challenging schedule, and let's be honest, and out of all Brady's accolades and everything like that, making it through crazy, challenging schedules is not on the list of accomplishments because he didn't really have to do it because what he does is he beats you mentally. And so once you're beat mentally, you're just done. And so he managed to do that to the whole division. So point being, if he's not that mentally imposing to opposing players and his team, then I wonder how strong they are. And obviously my answer is 10-7. And I don't think this takes them out of the NFC Championship picture by any.
Okay, got you. All right, okay.
You're not going that
So
far.
you're like, okay, you're like they will be fine to just get to the playoffs and then make their run.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. They're not like where that Green Bay, if you'd have given me that do I still see Green Bay? To answer your question, do I still see Green Bay, Tampa in the championship? Of course I do.
Okay.
Where I would have wavered is thinking Tampa had the advantage there. And so I probably would have put it at 70-30, maybe even as high as 80-20. I now see that as 50-50.
Got it. Gotcha.
And, like the 10%, whatever can be who goes to home, 60-40, whoever's at home.
Yeah, I think we're basically on the same page with the, even though the records are different, we both think that they are a contender to get to the Super Bowl, but just that they will not be, gung-ho about
only
the regular
contenders
season.
are allowed on this list, right?
Right, yeah, yes, yeah.
So if we even talk about you, you're a contender.
Yeah.
Talking about you, then we don't think you're a contender.
The thing they have going for them, I look at the schedule, is the fact that similar to Green Bay, the division is just brutal. I mean, it's just a horrible division. They're gonna.
I don't think I gave them an L in that division.
Yeah, I don't think you did either. No,
we had them losing one in the Saints. I think.
I had them losing. I had them being 5-1. Yeah.
Nope. They sweeping that division. I'm thinking about that division.
So, getting back to the NBA, I do not a segment. After the playoffs every year, I've done this for like maybe the last, I don't know, going maybe a decade. I've been doing this, where I look at the playoffs, look at the whole NBA season, especially the playoffs. I try not to overreact too much to the playoffs, but it's hard. It's hard. But I say that to
it's a regular season award because the playoffs are everything. Honestly, I think you overreact to the regular season. The playoffs are everything.
No, so here's what I say. I try not to have the playoffs be a prisoner moment of the playoffs in regards to my overall thoughts on this list. Okay. But the playoffs definitely mattered. I mean, the playoffs are the finals are the lasting impression that of course you see.
And aren't we all playing for a championship?
Yeah, no question.
What we're playing. So
I think this list
so much more.
I think this list is reflective of that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no. I'm just it should mean everything. It should. It's like the finals, like your test. Like that's
the finals. Yes. No, you're right. No, you're right.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, I'll give you an example.
But yeah, I see. By looking at you, I see exactly what you're saying.
So in 2008, I would not.
It's not just a regular season award. And it's not just a postseason.
Right. It's a mixture. It's a mixture of both.
You take in the entire season.
Right. In 2000, if I did this list in 2008, I wasn't doing it that way back when. But if I were doing this list in 2008, I would not have Paul Pierce as the best player in the world. No, just the fact that he won the Finals MVP for Boston Celtics. He would not have been number one. So that's what I'm saying. So I react, but I don't overreact to that extreme. Or in 2007, when they had Tony Parker number one because he won the Finals MVP in 2007. So I do. So I end the year doing the top 5 players of the season. We're going to next season. These are the 5 best players on the planet. Number 1, Giannis. I don't really think it's any debate considering what Giannis did in the postseason, and I'll be honest with you, Rob. I talked to Golden State called a break to me not facing Milwaukee with what I looking at that match. Sometimes it happens. Sometimes it's just things. These things happens in terms of the breaks. With no Milton, because boy,
it's
I'm
fine. Like when you
it's fine, man. Which is fine.
Player, I mean, like Milwaukee, you get to say that. You get to go down to what if, and that's fine.
Giannis, they lost in the second round, of course, to
all been there. That's fine.
Lost in the second round to Boston, but of course Giannis dominated. Just was insane in the playoffs, and he will be back next year. And he's without
what if is 100% healthy Robert Williams?
Exactly.
I want to see. I just want to see that.
Yeah, no.
I'm not saying anything different. I just want to.
Robert. Yeah. Well, man, you saying that now that makes me feel like now I'm pushing Tatum. Tatum was probably the 5th best player in this series because Williams and Brown and Williams were probably better than Tatum in this series. So now you say bring up Robert Williams because he was all over the place. Even at 70%, he was all over the place. He just couldn't play extended minutes.
Nope.
So Giannis is a clear number one to me. I don't think there's not a player that impacts both parts of the game, both offensively and defensively at the level that Giannis is at right now. 27 years old. He's still.
Now, did we include Charles Oakley's opinion in this?
No,
I don't think
Charles was not consulted. No, Charles was not consulted in this survey. This top 5. No, Charles wasn't consulted. I left him out of the mix. I mean Charles wouldn't have had him in his top 15 probably. Number two. Now this is where people might want to criticize. You can go right ahead. We can argue to. I will argue to the bone. Steph Curry is number 2. Like you talk about impacting the game. So let me run off the Steph Curry season, right? He wins the All-Star Game MVP. He wins the inaugural, conference finals MVP, and he dominates the NBA Finals. Steph Curry is right as we stand. He is the 2nd best player in the world. Like
Steph Curry is in the pick your spots point of his career.
Yes.
He's not going to have there's no reason to have a dominant regular season.
No.
You don't expend that. That's how you get that check. That's what the young boys will learn.
Yep.
That's how you conserve your
energy. Yep.
Championship standing.
Yep. He's not worried. He's because he's been there, done that. He's won scoring titles. He's won.
Yeah.
MVP.
There's no reason.
No.
So that's to me. That's how I would co-sign your Giannis easily. Like I didn't even blink twice at it when I saw it. Like I get that Steph won the championship, but we're talking about that's why I asked that question. We're taking everything in totality. Giannis will have a better season than Steph.
Right.
And I don't think anybody honestly would really argue that outside of Golden State Warrior fans who just want to hear that Steph is the greatest at everything ever all the time.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But anybody else reasonably, you don't get it.
There's no debate Steph Curry being number 2. It's no debate about that.
There's no reason to have a debate.
I couldn't put him lower than 2. I couldn't do it. There's no way.
Do I get a ring at the end of the season? That's what he
Yes. Bottom line, yes. 3, I had Jokic at 3. Of course, he won the MVP. And he played at a high level against the eventual champions in Golden State. I take that into consideration because he did show up big time in that series despite being basically a one-man show in his own right. So I had him 3. Now those who you want to argue Luka ahead of him, sure. I could see Luka. You could flip Luka and Jokic. You can easily. I had no problem with it. But to me, they're kind of similar. Neither one of them has won a championship. Luka just got a little further. Jokic had a better, regular season, was more consistent, was healthier. So that's why I put him number 3. But Jokic 3, Luka 4, and just off sheer still ability and still producing at a high level, Kevin Durant 5. What are your thoughts? Could not put Tatum in top 5.
No,
I'm sorry, after that finals, I could not put Tatum in top 5. Couldn't do it.
Is there anybody? That's why I was trying to think. Is there anybody that I would put on this list? And I can't think of anybody that I would put on the list.
Think about let's go do some other candies.
I could flip Luka and Jokic.
Yes,
but that's the only thing.
Yep. I said,
I think the top 5 is solid. Of course, that is the 5.
Let's go through some guys who might. Let's go through some guys who,
like, depending upon like when it's this at next year's end, depending upon what Kevin Durant does in the playoffs, he might move up, but that's it.
Yeah.
But this is
or Rob, or move down.
I mean, sure. Somebody,
that's in play. That's in play too. That's in play.
I mean, honestly, 3, 4, and 5 are not cemented because they don't. Well, you know how I feel about Kevin Durant's championship.
Right.
They don't have championships yet.
Yep.
So all 3 of them could come off this list.
Absolutely.
If one of the rising ones gets the championship next year.
And I'm telling you, I can already hear the fan bases of Philadelphia. Where's Joel Embiid? Can you get past the second round of playoffs? Can you get to one conference final? That's all. Can you get to one?
This is the 5. Real. This is the 5.
Yeah, this is the 5. Yeah, this. Tatum, we already know Tatum. What happened with Tatum? He had an opportunity. He had a chance.
I don't even know. I don't know if I would put him on here.
Had they won, yeah, I did. If Boston wins the championship, I would have had to put him in top 5. He would have probably been 5th. My thing
is, I see what you're saying, and you're probably right, but I still need to see the consistency.
Well, no, but here's the thing, Rob.
I'm very much a pause and wait on Tatum.
But here's the thing, Rob. Here's the thing about that. You're 100% right, but the reason why they didn't win is because he's not consistent yet.
I was going to say, they win with that stat line in the finals.
No, they were not going to. No, they were not going to win with that stat line. Period.
I agree with you. So in order for when he gets on this top 5, he would have earned getting on this top 5.
Oh yeah, 1,000%.
That won't mean he would have done all the things.
Yeah, he's going. Yeah, he's going. Yeah, he would have earned. Yeah, he's going. Yeah, no, he.
Because you're right. They can't. They're not going to win the championship if he's
shooting 36% from. No, they're not. No.
So without that, there's no way he can crack this top 5. So you're right.
No, and of course, the other guy in terms of that, would have probably got maybe some consideration, but when your team doesn't make the playoffs, LeBron, your team didn't make the playoffs, so it's like no, you didn't make the play-in. So no.
I didn't even notice LeBron. Was on there.
No, yeah, that tells you all you need to know. Yeah,
I noticed LeBron wasn't on there.
That tells you all you need to know. These are the 5. These are clear cut the 5 best players in the world right now. I don't and Giannis and Steph are clearly 1 and 2. There's a separation between. There's a gap between There's a gap after 2. There's a gap
for legit championships.
Yeah,
they don't have legit championships. So
there's a gap.
There's a significant gap.
There's a gap after 2. After those 2, there's a gap. Period. Questions for Sapp. I think we touched on this slightly a little bit earlier, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Can we still call it the LeBron era if Steph Curry wins more titles?
First one to 5.
The
era.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's as fair can be. They have all the other accomplishments, like both of them, era-defining players, change the game, check, MVPs, titles, check. And they both have 2 legit titles in my mind. So that's why this one was so important for my perception of Steph. And so it's all even. Everything's even. It's the fairest of fair ways. Steph has a it would be trickier for me to see Steph winning another championship
if all he had was Clay and Draymond, but there is a young group around that group. So I think that team will be a factor for a while. Like
And
that.
plus, no,
I don't think that.
as long as Steph,
that's not the debate. And you know, LeBron will cobble together a championship team either in LA or somewhere else. He'll cobble together at least one or two more. And I even said it like this. Let's say, because I don't expect your Lakers to contend next year.
No,
I expect for him to be there. So you're thinking about the year after that, or if he's on another team the year after that. If Steph wins next year, I'm giving the era to Steph.
Yes.
It literally is first 1 to 5.
Yep.
It's first 1 to 5.
Yep.
Because they're on completely even playing fields now. Completely even playing fields.
It cannot be your era if another guy in your area has more chips. Like you can't, like that doesn't even make sense. Like we don't
have to make a counter argument for this. It's first 1 to 5 wins.
Period. Yeah.
You don't have to make a
no. Yeah, that's that. I mean, listen, the LeBron fans are going to, they'll tell you, they're going to say the 4 finals MVPs, the scoring championship, the total scoring, the Kareem record. They're going to give you that, but
right, they can give you the tiebreaker now because it's 4-4.
Right.
They can give you all that as tiebreaker. I get that. I get being able to say all those things as tiebreakers. Now, that's why first 1 to 5 wins.
Will Kyrie Irving be a Brooklyn Net at the beginning of the season?
Yes.
Okay. So no, you don't see him being moved this summer.
Here's what I mean by yes. Yes. Under every normal circumstance under the sun. Yes. Who the hell knows what Kyrie's going to do? Kyrie doesn't even know what Kyrie's going to do. Definitely none of us do, and definitely the team doesn't. So that's the only caveat, but it's the biggest caveat. But in terms of the organization wants to give him the money. The only one who can completely torpedo this thing is Kyrie Irving.
I don't think they want to. I disagree. I don't think they want to give him the money. That's why I think. I don't think they want to give him the money.
I think it's complicated. I mean, I've been deep in the nets for all that, everything. Like, so it's way more complicated than I'm making it seem. But there is no other move for the organization from a pride standpoint. And remember, we're not talking about a top-notch organization. Let's not do this.
No.
Like the Nets are a top-notch organization.
No.
They fall right into that media-hungry mindset that New York and LA fall into.
Philadelphia
it's
too.
Just that. Yeah, sure. And so they have to sign Kyrie. Real. Let's keep it all the way. Like, there's no BS. No personal feelings involved in this. None of that. They have to sign Kyrie. They want to sign Kyrie. They want to give him the money. They know more than anybody else how crazy and messed up and non-committal to basketball he is, and yet they still have no choice. This is not a well-run organization. All they care about is the amount of stars and headlines they can get out of this. Kyrie's the only one that can torpedo this one. The Nets have no resolve. No, they have no resolve. They don't. Not even a little bit. Nothing.
I don't think. I disagree. I don't think.
You disagree. But their history, their recent history it backs me up. Doesn't back you up at all. This is a team that traded for Ben Simmons.
They did.
So come on, what are we talking about here? This is not a well-run franchise. Don't give them that credit.
I think he's gonna get moved. I just have a feeling he's getting moved. I don't know where.
Yeah, that's the pop. That'll give headlines.
I think he's gonna get moved.
It's not going to be because Brooklyn wants to move him. I guarantee.
No, it's not going to be. I'm not saying they're going to make the right move. I said no. I'm not.
No, it's not going to be because they want to move him. It will be because Kyrie says. So now the question is, do you believe Kyrie will say, "I don't want to be a Brooklyn Net anymore"? Yes. That is going to have to come out of his mouth.
Yes.
Okay. So then Then if that is the question and that's where it's at, I can absolutely see that happening.
And the reason why I say that is I don't think they're gonna I don't think they're gonna commit the max. I don't think they're gonna give him the contract that he wants. I think that they're gonna try to not lowball him with the money, but in terms of like the years, that's why I think they're at the impasse right now.
Here's the point. Publicly, that is what will be said. Privately, it has already been stated. Privately, it is already there. If Kyrie, right after the season, says, "Yep, I'm committed to the Nets," that's it. There's not a conversation right now. This is not the Brooklyn Nets organization at all. Not even a little bit.
Yeah, I don't think. I don't think he's gonna be on the team next year. Not in the beginning of the season. I don't think I think he. That will be the move. That I think
because Kyrie says, "I don't want to be here anymore."
Yeah, no, I can. Yeah, I think that. I think he. I think he.
I'm not saying that. I don't think.
You don't think Kyrie? No, you don't think Kyrie is going to say that he wants to be moved?
No. I don't think any other team wants to pay him the max. And I don't think any other team wants to deal with BS as much as Brooklyn and Kevin. Well, let's be honest, Kevin Durant is willing to. But I also don't think Kyrie cares about those things.
So we go to biggest disappointment. I'm not even talking about from the standpoint of the tweets going back and forth with Charles Barkley. I care less about Durant tweets at this point. They are what they are. I'm just talking about in terms of you have a situation where your team gets swept in the first round. They were the only team that got swept. The only team in the playoffs that did not win a game. You look at what Steph Curry and Giannis did against Boston versus what Kevin Durant did against Boston. It's not even close. And now with Steph Curry and Golden State winning a second championship without you, those two championships that you won are not viewed in the standpoint of they needed you. They're viewed in the standpoint that we mentioned earlier, that you needed them.
As they should be.
As they should be. If we had we do the who won the week, but if we create a new category of who lost the postseason, I can't think of a player that, lost more this postseason that was a part of postseason than Kevin Durant. Like from start to finish, this was the worst possible outcome for any player that had anything on the line going to this postseason. And by the way, and you're stuck with two guys who we don't even know who are not exactly committed to playing basketball in Kyrie Irving and Ben Simmons. So, Kevin Durant has all the money in the world, but from a basketball standpoint, in terms of where that organization is headed, not the best. Kevin Durant is not in the best place right now. And this postseason was a major disappointment to me. So that's why he gets the biggest disappointment. I'm looking at not so much more of what happened last week, but more of over as we wrap up this NBA postseason, more of a overall disappointing award. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, like this is a more traditional disappointment that you've run. I was thinking about Kevin Durant this morning, last night. He'll pop in my mind every once in a while because he's a great contradiction.
Yeah.
Right? Like everybody says Kevin Durant just loves the game, just wants to play basketball, yada, 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 right? So here's the contradiction. You left an organization where that was clearly a priority. All the things that everyone and you say you love to do, to go off to your own, to an organization where that is not a priority, and you pick as your running mate someone who has, basketball-wise, the opposite priority as you. After you've already been in, this would be one thing if Kevin Durant had never been in a situation where there was another ball dominant force that was questionable at how they went about the game. So again, another contradiction. You know what that life was like, and you actively moved away from it and then crushed it verbally the entire time you were away from it, and then you opted for that exact same predicament again, just with less talent and a less well-run organization. So what everybody says of him and he says of himself is in contradictions to the actions he takes.
Yeah.
So what am I to believe, the words or the actions? As a viewer, I have to believe the actions.
Yeah.
And when I look at the actions, skill set versus where he has been, like, boy, Kevin Durant should get on his knees every night and thank his lucky stars for LeBron, because this is what we murdered LeBron about for years, right? Like, your level of talent and how you've gone about the business of basketball don't match and fall below the expectations of your level of talent. And that is why, until we see those two play out together, that is why he will continue to be a very big disappointment.
You know, he's in danger. We were comparing Steph and LeBron in terms of how they're going to be viewed with this who's era, but he's actually probably a Giannis championship away from being like considered to be like the fourth best player of this generation. He's really in, like, because clearly Steph and clearly LeBron and Curry are ahead of him. Like, we go, like, clearly.
First, real footnote.
Clearly. And
one of those players,
and to be honest with you,
remember what was his name? Yeah, Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant was also a beast in the early 2000s.
Giannis already has what he doesn't have, is being a clear championship. Giannis already has one championship.
He has a legit championship
as a legit best player. No, Barkley likes to call it brush driver. Yeah, but Giannis already has that. Giannis gets another ring. He is going to be a footnote. He's going to be a footnote. Then we're going to be arguing Giannis against those other two as Giannis' career
potential. I mean, he's got career left, so I'm not going to go that far. But dangerous.
I'm saying, though, if Giannis keeps progressing the way we think he's going to stay healthy, he's going to be in that. He has a chance to be in that, potentially be in that conversation.
And
with those other
Kevin
two.
Durant doesn't improve.
And if Kevin Durant, right? Yes. But
if Kevin Durant stays static and Giannis keeps on the trajectory we think he's on, then yeah, he will. Kevin Durant will be a footnote.
He's gonna be a footnote. When a couple of years ago, we thought it was LeBron and Durant. We thought it was LeBron.
I was always pause on this. LeBron Durant's the next best player. I just want to be very clear on that. I was not ringing that bell.
No, you've never been. No, you've been consistent by that.
I know.
But the general consensus as far as the basketball.
I know what the conversation was. I do.
But now it's like, dude, you actually have a chance to, like I said, there's footnote potential, which I would have never thought.
Because here's the thing, real. When you strike out on your own, you're gambling on yourself.
Yes.
Right. And that's, again, I go back to the Kobe Shaq breakup, and that's why it irked me at the time. And for a while, honestly. Because I think the accumulation of championships over history, you'll take your hits in the time frame, but over history, the accumulation of championships outweighs that context. So Durant staying, even though Steph is ahead of him and will always be ahead of him, he would absolutely always have one more than him, right? That accumulation of getting 3, 4, 5, 6, come on now. You got to stay with that unless you just have an unshakable belief in yourself to go out and do it. And then if you do, then you're going to get hit. This is the risk you take. This is absolutely the risk you take. If you don't do it by yourself, historically, you're a footnote. When you take that risk, and he did. So that's why this whole viewpoint is different now. You're not with the Warriors. You're with the Brooklyn Nets. That's why this is all different.
Yeah.
And you're the head of the snake.
Yeah. Yeah.
No Curry there.
No.
No Kerr. No Iggy, no Draymond, no all these different players to take perspective away from the negatives of your game and of your personality. It's all on you. Again, that's the difference. All these people that want to be superstars, want to be called superstars and think they're superstars. How do you perform when it's all on you? Not just the game, the ball distribution, plays, shots, not just that. Media, how you interact with fans off the court, how you shape and inspire practice squad, have all the things. When all of that is on you, there are very, very few players that can handle that. And they should not get that mantle. And that is why Kevin Durant is a big disappointment, because his talent says he should be able to handle these things.
And he has not been able to.
No, not at all. The mental weakness in itself makes no sense. It really doesn't. You're so much better than everybody else. Why are you spending time defending yourself against who cares?
That is
If
the
you have
difference.
one
That's the
bad
difference. That's the difference
there.
with. That's what separates. That's why.
There you go.
That's why Steph is Steph. That's why LeBron is
There
LeBron.
you
That's why Kobe. Those. That is why those guys were those guys.
The greatest compliment you can give is that we may care about these conversations, but they don't.
Right.
Or at the very least, they don't let the thought and the impact of where I am in history impact anything about how they go about their business of being a professional basketball player. As a matter of fact, the true greats
use it.
Know
they fuel it.
That where they are placed in history will depend upon how they play basketball.
Perform. Yeah.
I mean, it seems so simple, but yet so many don't get that point.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Kevin Durant, get off Twitter. Like that's has nothing to do with how we'll be in history. How many times you successfully defended yourself against a
yeah. Here's the thing, like, and I'm glad you bring up the Twitter thing again. I wasn't going to go with the tweets, but I'm glad you bring it up again because, you know, I'll hear Durant. I'll hear people say stuff about Durant, whatever Barclays or whoever say stuff about Durant, and then a day or two later, he has a response, and it's like, what your response should be. Go out there and win a championship as the best player as with your own franchise. That's that is the ultimate, F you, shut the F up to everybody response. There's no tweet. You to your point, you're trying to out tweet these guys or whoever, or have an opinion about you or the fans, whatever. No, your response would be go out there, do this. Is what Steph did. Steph told everybody to shut up. I'm shut up. I'm an immortal player. I'm a top 10 whoever player. I'm finals MVP. He told everybody to shut up. And he did it without saying anything. He did it without tweeting. He went out there and did it on the court. So
honestly, damn Tatum paying attention and the young Celtics team paying attention.
The ones who need to be paying attention are Durant, are Harden, are Kyrie. Are you looking? Are you looking at how he goes about his business?
Yeah.
That's what gets you 4. That's what gets you all of that, all how he goes about. Are you paying it? Those are the ones who honestly need to be paying attention, like for real. Y'all getting all these accolades verbally from people. That man goes out and does it. That's how you do it at a very high level. All you guys calling yourselves the best of this, the best of that. There, that's the measuring stick. That's the measuring stick.
What did you learn from as a whole? What did you learn? What did these playoffs teach you as a whole moving forward?
I very, very much learned that team building, roster construction is a thing, and I'm glad it's a thing again, for real. And that I think the ultimate lesson of the Warriors winning a championship are there is great value long-term in drafting and developing players along the way. You do have to be a good organization to see these things, learn these lessons and that. So this is not for everybody at all. As a matter of fact, this is not even for half the league. But those teams that want, those franchises that want to get to this level of sustained success should be paying attention, because those are the lessons that I learned. Because I absolutely was one of the ones that once Golden State fell, I was not even thinking about them getting up. I wasn't even thinking about it. I was ready to move on to the next group. They knew that. They knew what they had. They knew how they could develop it. And they did that thing. So that's what I learned. I was like, oh, there's not only value in your quote unquote your window time in terms of retaining and keeping players that you draft and continuing developing and all that, but that also helps to either extend a potential window or open up a new one, which is impressive to see.
I'm no longer going to overreact to the shiny new toy type moves, whether Brooklyn, Lakers, the Clippers, that we've seen in the past 4 to 5 years. That one piece away, that one move away, I'm not gonna react. I'm not gonna respond to it. Not respond. I'll see it and notice it and speak, talk about it. But I'm not, as a basketball fan, as somebody who's looking big picture in terms of who's going to compete for a championship. I'm not going to over respond to those shiny new moves. I'm not.
You're saying championships aren't won on paper,
right? Yeah. No.
So I guess those favorite odds of winning the Super Bowl, I shouldn't start booking my tickets.
I mean, the NFL, the Super Bowl NFL, they normally get it. I mean, the NFL, the NBA versus the NFL odds, I don't know what they were.
I love that the favorite, we're like 8%, but that's the favorite.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Like,
exactly.
I think there's 8% chance.
Yeah, exactly.
My hopes and everything.
I mean,
if I use that word favorite, I'm like, okay, we're like the other one's like 6.2%. Okay, all right, sure. We're 8%.
Vegas, I don't know if you saw the updated NBA odds for 2023. Vegas still has the Nets as the second favorite behind Golden State.
I mean, come on now. Come on. The cat. I mean, like, we don't get into the depth on there, but you know what that's about.
Yeah.
The Nets barely have anybody signed to their roster at this point in time.
Right.
So we know what that is. That is literally, casual fan is going to hear, first of all, the Nets, whatever. They're whatever. But the casual fan is going to hear Durant, Kyrie on the same team, money.
Yep.
So You put them as Izzo's favorites, you're going to get lots and lots of money made. And will they make the finals? I'm not putting my money on that. Let me just say.
Who are you watching for next year? What team should we be paying attention to for next year?
You know I'll be obsessed with the Nets next year as well.
Oh, no, I ain't talking about that. I'm talking about think about that. I'm
As I
talking
talk
about
all that shit about
the
the I'll be watching.
I'm talking about I'm talking about like the up and coming team. Who should, who?
Oh, Denver.
Denver. Okay, that's a good one. Yeah, Denver's that's a good one. Healthy Jamal.
I love how Morant came.
You mean Memphis? That's me. Memphis. You mean Memphis? You said
Memphis, right? Memphis. Yeah, sorry, Memphis. Memphis.
Okay.
I think that. I don't know. But anyways, yeah, that's too basketball for me. I can't dig that deep. But I loved how Morant. So Memphis. I loved how Morant came back after last year and said that he wanted to be the best, and then did it. And I feel like this season was incomplete with his injury. He didn't either get to succeed or fail completely in the playoffs because of the injury. So I want to see that story completed. And I think Morant wants to see that story completed. And I think him and the team heard how they played without him. And so it'll be interesting to see if they can maximize all components so they can reach their zenith auxiliary wise with him, and he can reach his zenith with all the parts together. Because I think if they figure that out, Memphis can be very, very challenging.
I 1000% agree with you. Man, I had Memphis and Milwaukee as my way too early finals prediction for next year.
Yeah, you did.
I love the Memphis team. I'm curious to see what they do in the offseason. Do they try something big, or do they try to run it back with this entire squad, close to being everybody? I mean, there are going to be some minor changes, but I'm curious about they have the pieces to make a big move. So if I'm them, I would just add like a veteran. I want to see how these young guys develop with that taste of playoff, the taste of the conference semifinals in their under their belt, and those playoff reps. I would not panic. Like I'm not getting a Bradley Beal or going after a player of that ilk to kind of disrupt the chemistry I got. I like this young core they have. I want to see them another year and how that looks like, what that looks like. Because Morant is Morant. Morant is Morant. And he's only going to get better. And they gave, like I said, they were a major. I guarantee you asked Golden State who is the tougher challenge when healthy, I think they would take Memphis over Boston, to be honest with you.
Memphis gave them fits.
Memphis, all types, yeah.
Boston did not. Now, Boston in the conference finals versus Boston in the finals.
Different teams. Complete no. To your point, different teams. Yep. Yeah.
But just based off their experience, I agree. That's what they would say. Memphis gave them fits, like for real.
Yeah. Like stuff that things that they had no answer. They had an answer for Boston.
They essentially gave Boston in 4.
They didn't have an answer for Memphis when Memphis was whole. They had answers. Yeah. That will be that's the team that I'm going to be watching out for, because they are the quote unquote next step team. Like this, can they take that next step, which will be a big step? Like you talk about second round to the conference finals, NBA finals. Those are big steps. And again, the West. Who knows about the West next year? I don't know what the Clippers and Denver with their health situation. I can't trust those teams from a health to be healthy. I just can't. I gotta see it to believe it. So you know, Golden State goes in as a favorite without question, and Golden State and Memphis are the two. Those are the two lead dogs in the West next year. Without as of right now, without any moves being made and what have you, and even moves are made, those two teams are the two lead dogs. I'm not drinking at all the Los Angeles Clipper juice. I'm just not. I have to see it. I gotta see those guys on the floor and healthy and playing at a high. I gotta see it to believe.
Consistently. That's all I was gonna say. I need to see them consistently out there.
Yes, yes, on the floor, actually playing on the floor. So no, Golden State, Memphis in the West, and Boston, Milwaukee as of right now in the East. Those are the four best teams to me headed into 2022, 2023. We'll see what Milwaukee does to build, build around Giannis or revamp their roster a little bit around Giannis. Don't need major overhauls, of course. Just some added wing players, and of course you always got to watch out for Pat Riley. Pat Riley, he is who he is for a reason. They have some older players on that team. I think Pat Riley understands that they're not going to win with Duncan Robinson and Tyler Hero. So you talk about predicting. Who would I predict those in terms of a move? I think Miami's going to make something. It's going to shake things up. That's my prediction in terms of the offseason move. Miami's going to do something because their core is aging. They're aging, and the core is they have some guys that they're not going to win with. The Lowry, Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero. Those three cannot be on the team. All three of those guys cannot be on the same team next year. Like that there's going to be some movement. Miami's going to do something. I have a feeling that Miami's going to do something big to kind of shake things up because they right now they're behind Boston and Milwaukee, clearly behind those two teams. So it was a great season. I think the NBA is headed in the right direction. Team building. We saw the right team won the championship. The right player is near or at the top of the mountain as far as his status as an immortal player in Steph Curry. And if you're Adam Silver, you just got to make sure that you have your guys, your star players actually are on the floor playing.
That's important.
That's very.
It is.
That's very important to the product.
Kind of a big deal. It is.
Well, folks, we have worked Robert Sapp from September to June.
It's been a pleasure.
It's been in essence a school year, and Mr. Sapp is going to have some time off to kind of recharge his batteries, to look at those BuffaloBill.com reports.
Oh, that happens regardless. I was just watching something, willing it down to the 53-man roster. Yeah. I'm all the way in. I'm back. You give me a contender. I'm back. Been a while. So I'm back.
We will, if now he's going to have a few weeks off before the NFL season starts. But of course, if anything nutty happens, which is always possible in 2022 world of sports, Sapp will join us for his input on just why did this happen? Why? So we might have one of those shows before the NFL season starts.
The NBA draft is here.
The draft is here. Yes, the draft is here. Then it should this draft should be. There's a lot of talent at the top. Not a clear number one, but there's a 3-man race at the number one spot. Between those three guys, Jabari Smith and Pablo Banchero, and I forgot the third guy, Chet Holmgren out of Gonzaga. So we'll see. I mean, the interesting thing about the NBA draft is not so much who goes number one, but what trades are made. You're gonna see. You already saw a good move to me by Dallas getting Christian Woods. I thought that was a very good move by Dallas.
I like that.
I like that a lot. Christian Wood, I like that a lot. So I expected there to be a number of trades in this draft. Hopefully,
well, also I wonder about league competitiveness, right? Like the NBA for a while has been undisputed draft and free agency king. Like they get those headlines. Like they get them. They do their thing there. This year, the NFL, they came to play on that end. Just very surprisingly, shockingly, which is why I was on so many podcasts, because the NFL just really stepped up the game in that aspect. I wonder, I mean, I know I'm not saying anything is fixed or rigged, yada, yada, none of that stuff. But I wonder if there's just like not a little extra like elbow bump, just like, come on, you were close, y'all close to some trades. Take that extra phone call, dig a little bit deeper. I just wonder if, this is the time of year the NBA shines. I wonder if there's not even a little extra to it because the NFL came out so hard. Or maybe it's all cyclical. Who knows?
Yeah, I think the NBA. To your point, the NFL raised the ante with what they did on what they did on Christmas Day.
That thing was wild. That was wild. It's just wild.
That was like, yo, we don't care that your season unofficially opens on Christmas. Christmas is ours now. It belongs to us. So that if you're the NBA, you realize that here's the thing. You realize that in season there's no competition. You can't, you cannot compete with the NFL in season. We realize that the NFL from basically from August to February, you're gonna be a clear number 2. You understand that. It's from April to July where you should be making your bones and really shining. Now the ratings in these finals were very good for the most part. People were into this series. It was a defining series for Stephen Curry. Boston Celtics are a national team. So the finals are very good from that standpoint. Now, like to your point, now the NBA needs something to happen with free agency. You need a Kawhi Leonard leaving, going to the Clippers, or Kevin Durant going to you need something that will keep the NFL from us talking about training camp in June. Like, yeah, the NBA needs that. And plus, and also we forget too, they're going to be in competition with soccer. The World Cup is coming up. So that they have that, they're going to be in competition with them. Because, the World Cup is about to start in a couple of weeks. So NBA is going to be an interesting spot this summer in terms of staying in the headlines. And it's become, these sports have become kind of 365, 24/7, 365, where these leagues are competing with each other at the highest level for narratives and ratings. It's not just it's not just in season. That it's not just in season anymore. It's a year-round thing where you're trying to stay in the in our tweets and in our in our headspace, as even as people go on vacations and what have you. You still want those fans on on their phones, looking up on NBA.com or looking at what's going on with so and so. So right now, the NBA will be a very interesting spot moving forward, especially in this summer, because right now the NFL. Right now the NFL has the attention. Like, that's all it is. The NFL right now is winning the offseason. And they shouldn't be winning the offseason in June. The NBA should be winning June and July. So
I actually do have a final question for you before we go.
Go ahead.
Are the Warriors a dynasty?
Yes. I don't even know why that's even.
Okay, all right. So you heard this chatter too. Like, I didn't understand. Like, literally somebody told me, they're like, yeah, Simmons said da da da, and I was like, wait, I didn't know this is a debate. This like, is this some at like? Okay.
So
I asked that question just to see.
To me,
is this like a conversation people are having?
I don't understand why you. So from 2015 to 2022. That's an 8-year span, correct? That's 8 years.
Yeah.
They won 4 championships.
Yeah.
They had a stretch where they went to 5 straight NBA finals.
Yeah.
They won back-to-back
many.
back-to-back in 17 and 18.
Yeah.
When they've been healthy, they've been in the finals, in essence. The only 2 years that they didn't make it to the finals, they weren't healthy. So you had no Steph and you had no Klay Thompson. So it's like, what are we talking about here? Like, yes, that's a dynasty. What the Bulls did was insane. 6 championships in 8 years. That's a dynasty. That's insane. The Celtics, don't even forget about the Celtics in the Bill Russell. We know that will never be matched. That's not the measuring stick. To me, and I was thinking, I heard this conversation. The Lakers, the Shaq 2000 Kobe Lakers, that was a dynasty. You win 3 straight championships. That's a dynasty because it doesn't happen.
My question is, when did dynasty, the definition of a dynasty, get shifted?
I don't know.
3 straight championships of what? What?
Yeah, I don't know.
That was a dynasty.
Yeah.
You went that was a dynasty. It was always.
I don't know.
The debate was like the debate was about back-to-backs. But it was always like if you only had like 1 back-to-back, right? Like it was like, but it was never 3 straight.
3 was never.
Like, wait,
no.
what?
When you talk,
We're questioning 3 straight games.
No, what are we talking about here? Yeah,
absolutely. 3 straight championship absolutely is a dynasty.
Yeah, three straight. Dynasty is. That's an automatic dynasty. Like, what are we talking about? Like, I don't know when it got to a point where I don't know when it got to a point to where
my entire life.
Yes. Yeah, I don't know when it got to a point to where we, to your point, shifted the dynasty to fit what we think is a dynasty. I don't know when did that happen.
I remember when the Bulls won all those, and it was like it was in back-to-back of 3. So we were talking about, even in that time period, we were talking about 3s,
right, being
dynasty,
right.
So by any stretch of the imagination, and like all that is a dynasty. Honestly, if we're really having a conversation where I remember the question starting to poke its head up is with the Spurs.
Right.
Because they could never win back-to-back.
Right.
But they kept winning consistently over a period of time. Right. That's when I remember the questioning of what is a dynasty coming in, but it was more about it was all about, can you be a dynasty if you've never won back-to-back?
And Rob, I'm going to answer that question.
It was never questioning back-to-back titles or strings of champions. Like, that was never in question, ever.
I'm going to answer that question right now. Yes, you win 5 championships. That's a dynasty. Yeah, you're a dynasty.
I thought that was settled decades ago.
What are we talking about?
Absolutely, they are.
What are we? You have sustained excellence over a course of if you have sustained excellence over a course of a period of time and winning more than 2 championships, yes, that constitutes as a dynasty, 1,000%. So whether if it's 5 and 15 years, if it's 5 and 11 years, like the Lakers did. So the Lakers kind of broke it up into 2 parts. It was kind of like a 2-part dynasty. Lakers had 2000 to 2010, right? So that 10-year span, that's an 11-year span. They won 5 in 11 years, but they were different teams. So the Kobe and Shaq, the Kobe Shaq dynasty, 3 straight. The little Kobe mini dynasty winning back-to-back finals and 3 straight finals appearances. But the 3 straight overall is a dynasty, and the 3 straight without question is a dynasty. It's unquestioned. That's without question is a dynasty. Yeah, the Spurs 5 and 15 years. Yeah, that's a dynasty. Like, what are we saying? Like, I don't know what. No, of course, yeah, the Bulls, yes, 6 and 8, yes, of course. The Celtics, yes. The Lakers in the 80s, 5 and 10 years, yeah, 5 in a decade.
Actually, real Lakers, Celtics, Yankees. There's some franchises that are even exempt from this conversation because at a certain point in time, you're just adding to the banner.
Right.
right? And
Right.
so like Lakers, Yankees, Celtics, definitely, honestly, those words don't exist to them organizationally because it just gets lobbed into the ether, right? Nobody's going to say the bubble Lakers were a dynasty.
No.
But if you come to the Lakers, you need to win a championship.
Right.
To add.
Right.
So it's like, yep. And so I wonder if, because if this did originate with Celtics fans, Simmons being primary, this is funny to me because it sounds like you're trying to discount someone else's dynasty because you haven't seen one. A lot of Celtics fans haven't seen what you would quote unquote call a dynasty in their entire lifetime. Because you missed out on Bird,
I would say
out on that era.
I would say the 80s. I would say here. I would say even the Celtics in the 80s, they won 3 in a decade, right? They didn't go back to back, but they won 3 in a decade. So I would say that in a sense was a form of a dynasty. They just got trumped by the Lakers 5.
I agree with that.
You know what I'm saying? That's what it is. That's what it is. That Simmons wants to detract others because they haven't had a clear cut one since Bill Russell, to your point, since going back to Bill Russell. That's what it comes down to. Period. Because there's nobody in talking about the Warriors since 2015 have had cumulatively the best record in the league. They've won 73 games, set the all-time record in wins in a single season. They've done there's no debate whatsoever that they've had basically the same core players. That Draymond, Klay Thompson, Steph, those 3, they've had that threesome of players. Steve Kerr, Bob Myers. Yeah, that is not without question. Golden State is a dynasty. It's not even what are we talking about here? It's not even an issue when you look back all this 8-year run that they've had. Now, if you want to say, you want to compare it and say the Bulls had a better dynasty, sure. The Lakers had a better dynasty in terms of up until the point with the 80s, sure. But it's still a dynasty. So I don't, the Spurs 5 and 15 was better up to this point. We'll see if Golden State can win more, because if Golden State, they have more years to win 5. But yeah, I think the dynasties that I've mentioned are pretty clear cut, like Spurs, Lakers, Celtics in the 80s, Golden State, Bulls. Those are pretty I don't even see what is debate. There's not even a debate. I don't get that standpoint of it.
Okay.
It's not even a debate to me. The Golden State one is just that's ridiculous. Now, no, Miami with LeBron and Wade, that was not a dynasty. 2 and 4 years, even though they went back to back. No, that was not. I wouldn't consider that.
And that's where there's always been a healthy debate, and that's fine.
Right, that's fine. Detroit 80.
Because I agree, that's not a dynasty.
Right,
but
Houston,
that's always been a healthy debate.
Right, Clutch City with Hakeem, that wasn't a dynasty. Yeah, that's fine. There wasn't sustained. There wasn't enough, not only with the championship, but there wasn't enough years of sustained dominance for it to be a dynasty per se. We go like Houston, Detroit, Miami. Those 3 franchises that won back to back didn't have enough. They were not good. They were not good for long enough to be considered a dynasty. But yeah, Lakers 80s, yes. Celtics 80s, yes. The Bulls 90s, yes. The Lakers 2000s, yes. Spurs 2000s into 2010s, yes. And the Golden State 2010s, yes. That's those are not even. I don't even argue those. We not even having a conversation to me about those dynasties, about those being dynasties. You want to compare them to each other and want to get into these trivial arguments about which team is better, whatever. Sure, but in terms of are they actual dynasties? That's not even. It's not even an issue to me. It's not even an issue. It is I don't. It's one of those. It's just it's a bad hot take as well. That's what it is. Also, it's a horrible hot take. It falls into that category of just bad hot takes. Something to argue just for the sake of arguing. That's when I hear that type of conversation. Like, what are we discussing? What are we discussing? All right, as always, thanks to Robert Sapp for joining us the last 10 months. Get some rest, brother. Right, we will see you soon.
We'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely. Later. That's going to wrap it up for this latest edition of the Real Deal Podcast. I will have this podcast up before the evening is over. Have a great rest of your evening and rest of the week. Enjoy the NBA draft. So long.